Hello students, welcome to Glecta. Here, this is the lecture and the covering topics of the Pride and Prejudice that I have taught you in your previous lecture. So let's get started. So let's talk about the narrator first. Let me tell you who is the narrator. Narrator is a person who tells the story to the people, to the readers who are reading the novel, right? So the narrator is that. So here, let's talk about the types of narrator. Then we're gonna discuss about the types of narrator, and then the main type of the narrator of the Pride and Prejudice novel, right? So the first person, basically first person narrator is about a narrator means who is telling his own personal life, who is telling his own story to the readers. So it's about the first person reader. It's about the first person narrator, right? So narrator uses I and we. So the such subject for the such subjects for the first person narrator is the I and we, means the narrator gonna use these words I and we, right? So it's about the first person narrator. Now moving ahead, so the second person, in such case the narrator gonna use this word, that is you, means narrator is talking to you, means narrator is telling things to you that you gonna find that thing, means narrator is having a good conversation with the readers of the book, of the novel, right? So it's about the second person narrator. Let's move towards the third person narrator. So in this kind of narrator gonna use such subject he, she, and others. So these subjects are those subjects that narrator gonna use, and narrator is active here, and narrator knows and sees can be shared, means the things that as narrator is seeing, the things the narrator can actually see is sharing to the readers. For example, whatever is happening in the novel, here narrator gonna share those information to the readers of the novel. Now next, moving to the omniscient. So the omniscient type of narrator is a kind of a narrator who can actually read the mind of the characters, means narrator who can read the mind of the character, means what the characters are thinking, right? So it's about the omniscient narrator, right? So like in this novel we're gonna discuss something that the things that is saying by the narrator are some things related to the thoughts of the characters. Next is unreliable. Unreliable means the things which we can't trust, means the things which are not reliable are the unreliable. So the narrator can be unreliable, means the events that is narrator is sharing cannot be rely, we cannot be rely over it, means that can be untrue and we can't trust over it. So narrator may share untrue or misleading account of the story's event. Next is fly on wall. Fly on wall, it's just like the CCTV camera, just like the camera that the narrator is using. Narrator is sharing his all the things, all sort of activities that is happening in the novel. Each and everything is doing by the play. It's happening in the novel by the different characters. So the narrator gonna share all of that things just like the camera. So that's why it's known as the fly on wall, the type of narrator. Now let's come to the narrator type of the Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice is narrated by a third person omniscient narrator. Here third person omniscient narrator means, third person here means he, she, means the narrator gonna talk about the different characters of the novel. But omniscient here means the narrator can actually read the mind of these characters and also can add some commentary over it in order to create the space in the mind of the reader, right? So the narrator has access to the thoughts and the feelings of the characters and describes these to the readers. The narrator of the novel also frequently adds commentary about the characters and their actions, which shapes the reader's perception. Now you can see that it's gonna shape the perceptions of the readers for the characters of the novels, right? Now let's talk about the class. So what do you understand by class? Class means, having the differentiation, having the differences, all the people all the people who are living in the society. Means some can be rich, some can be poor. So it's all about the class, means aristocracy. It's at that time that was quite famous when the Pride and Prejudice got established, that the thing, the upper class thing and the lower class thing and the middle class thing was quite popular in that at that time. So they are upper class, middle class, and lower class. Upper class, middle class, and lower class. Lower class basically includes the working class, means people who are working right there. But Jane Austen in Pride and Prejudice only reflects two structure of the society, that is the upper class and the middle class. Means in the novel Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen just reflected two classes, that is the upper class and the middle class. In Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen shows that Darcy family belongs to the upper class. Darcy was quite rich, and he was earning handsome money, around 10,000. So Darcy family belongs to the upper class. The income identifies Darcy's social status, means income can be judged, means through the income people can be judged that whom they belong to, means from which category, from which class they belong to, their living style, the luxurious life and all that things, that they all are having the facilities, gonna decide that they belong to which class in the society. So here we can say that the Darcy belonged to the upper class. On the other hand, the Elizabeth, who is the protagonist of this novel, belonged to the middle class. So here we can see that there is a quite clashes. There are clashes in the novel regarding the classes, that is from the upper class to the middle class. And there is a clash sort of things that gonna happen in the novel, and when you're gonna read it. Here there's a quite example. Jane and Bingley both have a personal attraction towards one and another. Jane and Bingley, Jane, that Elizabeth's sister, and Bingley, Darcy's friend. These two are having this strong affection towards each other. They have dignity and both are very sensible. Unfortunately, the interference of outside forces caused trouble in the kinship. His sisters and Darcy believe that Bennet family is too far down in the social ladder to deserve such love and attention from him. Means you can see that Darcy and Bingley's sisters are quite are playing quite a very toxic role here. Means they thought that Jane doesn't deserve this kind of love and affection from the Bingley vibe, because the Jane is from the middle class and Bingley belonged to the upper class here. So there is a kind of clash among the mindset of the different characters in the novel, right? Jane and Bingley's relationship serves to demonstrate the reverse of the caring upper class. Means here Jane and Bingley's relationship is showing that that the opposite situation in the society. Means the people, two persons from the different class can fall in love with each other. Means in the case of love, there is no difference regarding the classes and the level of the people out there. Okay, so this is here. And also the second sort of example is also there. Ladia and Wickham's marriage is other example of Austen's idea of a bad marriage. It was based on good looks, false love, appearances for the society, sensual or sexual pleasures of youthful vivacity. Here you can see that there are the differences. The class cannot only be judged with the amount of money that you are earning, in the society, but it can be also judged with the looks. Means someone is having good looks, someone is having bad looks. So these kind of things are still in the society. Means a good looking woman cannot be with a bad looking man. So it's a kind of a differentiation today in also today's world. So this part, Valadia and Wickham, is showing that there was a difference between having good looks and bad looks, and people quite got judged at that time also. When no one them can see the relationship in others' quality, the marriage will solemnly fade away. Means the people who cannot see the quality, means people who are not seeing the qualities and the bad things in each other, their marriage gonna fade after some time. So it's quite just like that. Austen showed that hasty marriages based on the false love and superficial qualities do not last much time and only looks and leads to unhappiness. Here we can see that the marriage of the Ladia and Wickham was getting quite fade. So here's a kind of the perception that is showing by the Jane Austen, that false perception and the superficial qualities cannot are not the long lasting, means they're gonna fade after some time. So it's a kind of the mindset that is showing by the Jane, right? These two characters help to satirize the ideals of the marriage by going against them and showing the contrast of relationship of the Jane and Bingley and Elizabeth and Darcy. So here there are two couples, Jane and Bingley, and Elizabeth and Darcy are the reflection of such the opposite scenario in the novel. Next is the significance of the title. So significance of the title, that is the Pride and Prejudice. Pride means having a very handsome amount of respect for ourselves is the pride, and prejudice means having a bad thinking, having bad thoughts towards someone automatically in nature. It's known as the prejudice. So the society that Jane Austen presents in Pride and Prejudice is concerned with the reputation and appearances. Means reputation, it's all about having good amount of money, a good salary, a good reputation in the society. And appearance, it's all about the looks, like women should be Jane said that women should be good looking, and like in the novel she explained the demands of the society at that time from a woman, that woman should be good looking and should always like making men happy. It's about that, right? So the theme of the judgment runs throughout the novel, as prejudging people is a favorite pastime, illustrated by the opening sentence. Means at that time prejudgment of the people were also like quite famous. So here the two main characters are both guilty of Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice, the two main characters are there, Elizabeth and Darcy, were quite got aimed by the Pride and Prejudice, and must learn the errors of their ways before they can live happily ever after. Elizabeth Bennet, Austen's heroine, believes herself to be very shrewd judge of character, but her pride allows herself to fall victim of her own set of prejudice. On the other hand, Darcy is proud of his refinement and superiority of social standing. This leads him to a general prejudice for all those below his social status. So here Darcy is quite a victim of the pride, means he was considering himself as the uppermost part in the society. He was thinking himself that no one can be like him. So he was a quite victim of the pride. And Elizabeth is showing the prejudice over here. Elizabeth's prejudice stems from her pride when she offended by Darcy's refusal to dance with her, and this led her to prejudice with him. Her prejudice clouds her clear judgment and foresight, and she believes that the poor account of the Darcy as related by the Wickham and blinded by the prejudice. She rejects her proposal. In the proposal scene, there is an ironic reversal. Both suffer from the faults of the Pride and Prejudice, but they are also the necessary defects of the desirable merits, the self-respect and intelligence. Elizabeth is not the only character who is prejudiced against the Darcy. Society similarly make their mind up against the Darcy. His character is decided. He wants the proudest and the most disagreeable man in the world, and everybody hoped that he would never come there again. So here you can see that, the mindset of Elizabeth toward the Darcy. Here we can see that the Darcy is a symbol of the pride, and Elizabeth was the symbol of the prejudice in their own mindset. So yeah, so we have discussed all of the crucial points of the Pride and Prejudice, and this is the end of this session. I hope students you loved it. Thank you so much for joining Glecta.